Kelley Williamson. I am the plant-based kitchenista. If you haven't met me before, if you're new, welcome. If you've been going to attending all of our classes for the past year and a half or so, probably even longer than that when we were all face-to-face, welcome back. I really appreciate it. So we are, of course, plant-based, no oil. So one of the things that you'll see me when I saute is always vegetable stock or vegetable broth, water, and then I always ask in class and stuff, and I always say I do this reaction because everybody's like, can't figure out the third one is, and it's definitely white wine. So we do that within like tomato sauces, like I could make a gnocchi sauce or something like that, but I don't use a lot of the white wines, more the vegetable broth stock or water. So we are going to be doing 2 recipes today. So we're going to do Cajun pasta, which is, of course, it's a great day to have pasta. It's probably like 50s here in Denver, but it's another snowstorms coming up. So we'll trudge through the snow. We've got it a lot later this year than we've ever had before, so we can't complain. And then we're going to do a healthy quinoa spinach salad. So always, having pasta in a salad is always 2 good things to have, and it's probably one of Jerry's favorite meals is anything pasta in a salad. So we're on a good roll tonight. So before I actually get going, before I get the recipe started, I'll go ahead and have Jerry introduce himself, and then we will get cooking. Okay. And if I look over this way, it's because the computer's there, so I can look at the questions. But then I also can let anybody in while Jerry's talking.
Yep. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jerry Casados. If you don't know who I am, a plant-based nutritionist. We've been plant-based now 15 years next month. I did it for health reasons, heart disease. I was on 3 blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds. It happens a lot when you get older, but now I'm healthy off all medications. I'm a certified instructor for Dr. McDougall's Start Solution program also. So I do have a private practice, and in the chat window, we left our information there, Kelley's website and my website. I have a lot of information on my website, and free consultations if you're interested in a 30-minute consultation. I'll be glad to do that. Just go over your diet, if you will, or you want to transition, or you're still curious about plant-based. Got a lot of information, so if you just like to do that, let me know. I'll be glad to help you. A lot of information out there now in the plant-based world. It's a big movement, obviously, and we're just here to educate and try to help people with their diets. And hopefully, everybody's getting well. That's good. But other than that, I'm just going to be behind the camera, and then I'll eat the food afterwards. So that's good.
Now the food's only for show tonight. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we always talk about if you're, because Jerry said, just being plant-based curious, we call it if you're plant curious. So we're very good about making sure that, if you're just starting out, you're have been, this for a long time, a pro, whatever, there's always things that we always look at as far as, sharing information, because this is all about community. So it's all about sharing recipes, sharing tips and tricks. I'm always full of tips and tricks. All those kind of things. So if you have questions, go ahead and we'll type them in the chat. If it depends on the group and stuff, if we can open up the chat or not, usually with that, but feel free to, type any questions, even if it's like substitutions or questions about, something that I've shown or tip and trick and stuff. I am happy to share anything. And then if I do mention any kind of recipes, which I sometimes do, I'll be like, hey, last time we did, and I'm trying to remember what we did last time. What did we do last time? Do you remember, Jared? We did some Thai. Okay, yeah, we did some Thai, and then we have a egg roll bowl coming up. So you only see right now just in the one. So basically, the one class in February. That's because this is the last time that we will be in this kitchen because we are moving. So we sold this house, and I'll be moving next weekend, which is a little scary, but moving's not always fun, but it's packing up a house we've been in for 20 some years. So we'll have a completely different kitchen in March behind us. And I still have, I have to get the pretty things behind in the kitchen and all those kind of things, because it's a little bit different colors and all that. So I'll probably be like March 10th, I think is the one class. And I think it's 2 weeks after that, which is like the 24th. So always on Thursdays. So we'll get those up there so you guys can sign up. But this month, because of travel with work, because I do work a full-time job with a healthcare organization here in Colorado. And then between that and the move and stuff, it just made sense to just do one class. So didn't want to skip the whole month, but definitely we do one class. All right, so we are going to get started. So the salad actually requires some butternut squash. So I just cut up some butternut squash. One of the things about butternut squash is you can buy it whole, whole pieces. And what's easy about it is you just cut off both ends. And then usually the neck part of it. So you've got the neck part and then you've got the bulb. The neck part of it is where you're going to get the really clean butternut squash. And then the bulb part is where all the seeds are. And you can just scrape those out, and then you can have like the rings of the butternut squash. So I just use the neck because I was only needing, so here, like 3/4 of a cup. So I just put, I just took the neck part, and I just, when I was, I cut it up in slices, and then I just took a knife and just peeled the skin off. You don't have to, I mean, you can actually eat the skin and it's fine. But a lot of people prefer, because it's just a little bit chewier, unless you really kind of roast it a little bit. Most people prefer to take the skin off and then go ahead and roast it up. So, but the nice thing about butternut squash now is you can go, like, Costco, they have like organic butternut squash pretty much anywhere you go anymore. It's actually all chopped up for you. So you don't have to sit there and do all those fun things with a butternut squash. But if you did get one, there's so many recipes you can do. And then the extra, you can freeze it. So just put it in, wrap it and put it in the freezer. And you can put it into, like chilies or stews or soups and all that. So you have plenty of butternut when you bought. And the one we bought was probably about this big. So it was enough for 3/4 cup just through the neck part of it. And then the bulb part and stuff, that's what I froze. So I just did it in little small dices, just because I wanted, just little bite-sized pieces. So I'm just going to dump those here on the pan, just get it ready, because it takes just a little while to roast. Just break it up, spread it out. And then to start it, if you've got vegetable broth, great. If you don't, just water. You're more kind of like you're roasting it, but you're also kind of steaming it when you're doing this. So just adding a little bit of that. Back in the days before being plant-based, of course, oil would have gone all over them, because that's usually what you do when you roast vegetables. So I just do that. So I just sprinkle enough on to keep it moist. And if it starts drying out, then just make sure you separate it out, all the pieces. If it starts drying out, then just add a little bit more vegetable broth or even water. And one of the things I always talk about is vegetable broth burns off a lot quicker than water. So you could do a drizzle of vegetable broth and then actually do a drizzle of water, and then it just holds on a little bit longer. So separate it out. So just, small little pieces, 3/4 of a cup. You could add more. You could use all the butternut squash. It's all up to you. Let me just put that in 400 degrees. So I'm going to watch it. And then once it starts getting a little bit brown on the edges, because that's what it'll do. And it starts, you kind of see like the sugar coming out, which is really good. Then I'll just kind of flip it around a little bit and get it all roasted up and ready to go. So I want to make sure that's in the oven. We'll do the spaghetti here in a little bit because it's small penne that we're using. So we're going to mini penne. So we're actually going to wait a little bit because I don't want to have it sitting around too long. So we are going to get the spice made ready for the Cajun pasta. So we have smoked paprika. It's one of my most favorite things. I mean, paprika is great, just regular. But if you ever get the smoked, and the one that I have that I love, you can see some of my cabinets if I open up. Some of them have things in it, and then there's really big bare spots because I've already packed all that up. So we've got Savory Spice, which is here in Denver, but they ship all over. They're really, really good, and they're sweet smoked Spanish paprika. So this is probably one of my favorites because it's a little bit sweet, but it's smoky. And when you smell it, it's just the flavors that are on there is just absolutely wonderful. What's nice about Savory Spice, and it's not a commercial for them, but I just love them the way they do things, is they grind all the spices here in Colorado. And so like if you go to the stores, you can buy a jar like this, and it's like $6, $7. And then what you do is you just say, you go back in when you're done and you're like halfway down, you go into the store and you just say, I want a 1 cup, 2 cups, 1/4 cup, whatever you want. You can buy up to big bulk if you want, and then you just refill your jars. So by the time you buy this nice jar because it looks great in your spice racks, if you refill it, so you bought this at like $6, $7, you refill it, it's like $2. So that's why I really like Savory Spice, which is really kind of cool. All right, so I've got the smoked paprika, a nice little smoky flavor. Oh, Jerry's going to type it in so everybody can see it.
No.
Okay. And then, so we got the smoked paprika. We have oregano. So you could use a Mexican oregano, regular oregano, whichever one you've got in your pantry. And then we have thyme. So lots of thyme tonight. So thyme is actually really nice. And so this is just the dried thyme. So you could use the fresh if you wanted to. And one of the, usually what I'll do with them before I'm putting the thyme in like this, I'll just take it and kind of rub it through my fingers a little bit, which then opens up the oils of the spices. And it just gives you that really, really nice flavor. I love thyme in vegetable soups. It's probably one of my favorite things to add. There we go. You could also put that into like a, what am I trying to say, like a coffee grinder, and you could also get it all kind of ground up that way and get the spices, especially if you've had it sitting in your pantry for a while. You'll notice a lot of times your spices will lose like their smell. If you put them in a coffee grinder, give them a couple of little pulses in the coffee grinder, it brings back the smell and the taste and things that you're looking for in your spices. Looks like I kind of spread it all over the place. Then we have onion powder. All right, get all that in there. You could also add a little garlic powder, but we're going to add garlic to it, so no need to do that. And then we have cayenne. So you do not, if you do not like spicy, cayenne is known for, being a little bit spicy. Just leave it out. You don't have to do that. And then, so I did cayenne, just a little bit of cayenne, and then I just did black pepper. Down there. These out of the way. So then you've got that. So then you can also add, so you'll see on the recipe, if you pulled the recipe, it says sea salt. So you can add the sea salt. I try to say I do like salt. That's one of my, probably the hardest thing. And I've talked to a lot of people, it's either sugar or, sweet or salt. I tend to be sugar, fine, salt, I like. But I don't put it in the foods when I'm making things, and then I just put it on the table. So if I want to add like a little pinch of salt or something like that, I can do that. But Jerry's, he can taste salt in anything, or sometimes I think it's even thinks there's salt in something, but I'm like, nope, I don't cook with the salt. So you can watch me and see that. That smells so good. It's that smoked paprika that gives it that really like smoky type flavor, which is really nice. Okay, so that's all mixed together. So it's just, it's just a pretty little spice. If you like this spice, one of the things that you could do is you could make this up and put it like in a mason jar, or if you have, some extra of these little jars and things like that, you can put them in there and mark it. Chef AJ shows that a lot, where she'll make up like her favorite spice mix, and then she'll just take, not have a label on it. She'll just put one of her own labels and say, this is for like Mexican food, and this is for this food and that. And that's an easy way to do it. But one thing I always say when I do spices too, so as a tip, even my recipes, because I've kind of put them to my flavor profile, but we've also tested a lot of these in the classes that we did face-to-face. It's always go low on spices. So if we say on here, like put all this spice in there, put like, grab like a teaspoon out and put the teaspoon in there, and then, mix it up into something and then taste it, and then add a little bit more, because you can always add spices you can't take away. And if you add too many spices, you see that a lot when you look at blogs and things, that people are like, oh, that didn't taste good. It's because there's too many. Everybody thinks they have to over spice things because it's, fresh vegetables and fresh food and stuff, and you don't. So like I said, always start low and keep adding this in, because you may have extra. Don't just dump the whole thing in. All right, so we're going to get the pasta going. So I've just got, like I said, mini, because I have it, it's in I didn't want to go buy things because we're moving next week. So I have mini pennies versus just regular pennies. So I'll pull it out here. And this is just Barilla, which is really good pasta. I didn't have one that is, we usually do multi-grain. This one is not, it's just a regular, but it's cute. It's just, I'll put it this way so you can see it. It's cute little pasta. So this one's 16 ounces. So I'm going to do half of the box, because if I do too much, then it's not saucy. And I like, when I do pasta, I like things that are really saucy. So I'm going to do about half. That's about right. So let's put that off to the side. We'll just give it a quick little stir. It doesn't stick to the bottom. Just a little more. There we go. It's one of those things when you look at pasta, especially when it's dried, you're looking in you're looking in your pot, you're like, wow, that doesn't look like much pasta. Just give it like 5-8 minutes, and it'll be a lot of pasta. So there you go. That's good. Okay. And then now we're going to make the sauce. So, blender. We're going to add, so we've got raw cashew. So on this recipe, I show you how to do, so if you get to where you're getting ready to make this and you're like, oh gosh, I forgot to soak the cashews. I actually soaked mine overnight because I made things up and chopped things up last night. But if you don't, you can actually bring like 2 cups of boiling water and just put it over the cashews and let them set for like 10-15 minutes, and they'll soak up the water and they'll get really soft. So that's a quick way to do it. So while you're making, like chopping your salad and things like that, that's a quick way and stuff to get your cashews like nice and soft and stuff. So it makes it a little bit less, I guess, Vitamix, it doesn't really matter, but it makes it a little bit easier on your blender. And then it actually will start like getting creamier faster versus every once in a while, if you put just raw cashews and start mixing things up, you'll get it where it's just a little chunky. And that's when we want a really smooth kind of a cream sauce. So these have definitely been soaking. So 1.5 cups. Like I said, if you don't, just follow the top of the recipe, just put some boiling water on it, let it set, and then you'll be in good shape. Okay, so you got the cashews in there, and then the sauce and stuff. So we got 2 cups of vegetable broth. If you don't have vegetable broth, because that does happen, like you open up the pantry and you start to go through something, you can always use water. And then you're probably going to add, you could add maybe like some other little spices if you wanted, or just a little bit of like pepper or something like that. So she's not barking at anything. She's older, so she's our old girl. We think she's 13. She came from another family and stuff. So, you know, her mom passed away and she came to us about 5 years ago, but we think she's about 13, but every once in a while I think she thinks she sees something and barks, but otherwise that's the only thing she does. Otherwise she's a sweetie. All right. So we're going to do that. So then we've got garlic. So garlic cloves. Another thing that you can do is you can actually, if you want to change up the profile, which is really fun to do, is I've got just regular chopped garlic, is you can roast garlic. And so I'll do this all the time. So I'll get like 10 of the bulbs of garlic, and I'll just buy them, you know, like they're like what, 2 for $1 or something. I'll buy them on a Sunday at the store. And what I'll do is I'll just put them right on the oven racks, and I'll just like 350 for probably about 45 minutes up to maybe an hour, depends on your stove or your oven. And you just let them sit there and kind of roast. And then I'll just pull them off to the side and let them sit there and, you know, get all nice and cooled up. And then if I'm watching TV or doing something else, I'll peel them all down. And then I put them in little, I'll show you one. I'll put them on a baking tray with parchment paper, and I'll put like 5 or 6 cloves together, and then I'll put it in the freezer. So they all kind of freeze together in nice little clumps, so I can pull this out and say, oh, this is exactly what I need. And then you just chop them up, and you could put them into anything that you're doing. So like pastas and things like that. And it gives you a roasted garlic flavor, which is really good. So this is probably, this baggie here is about 10 of the bulbs of garlic. Makes about that much. But I keep it on hand all the time because every once in a while I'll be like, ooh, I'd like to have some of that roasted flavor versus just regular garlic flavor. But for this one, we're just going to add regular garlic. And then we actually say that if you want that, you can add the salt. So we're not going to add salt to it. So we are ready to go. Let's give this a quick stir. You have to let it go for a couple minutes because you want to get it creamy. So check and see if the questions. Then we're going to test it. Yes. So you're asking, so Eileen, you're asking, would a Nutribullet be able to make this sauce? Yes. You just want to make sure that, you know, so maybe like if you're getting ready to make the sauce and you want to keep some on hand, what I would do for sure is to make sure you really soak them. So maybe you soak them overnight and really get them soft, and then you could do that. It would definitely handle it. The new ones, I would say if it was one of the old generation Nutribullets, no, but the ones now can. Okay, it needs to go a little bit longer. It's still a little bit, just a little bit crunchy. I usually have a top, but the top got broken, so I'm getting ready to order a whole new blender. That's part of it. So I'll pour it out into a bowl. Right here. Old Nutribullet. What I define as an old Nutribullet. So I would say probably 15 years ago, 10, 15 years, because I think that's about when they came out. So they were really popular and they were everywhere, and they were like really small. So the Nutribullet's not the big ones, but they were really small like this, and it was more made for like a cup of like when you make a smoothie. But if you have the bigger ones, those are the newer ones. So those does more than handle it. The little ones, when they were about this big and about this tall, they would, if you got them, if the things were too chunky or you put too much ice in things, they would burn out. So the big ones and stuff, no problem. So see how creamy? Nice and creamy. You could also make, if you don't like cashews, you could make this with almonds. You could make it with walnuts. So there's all the different nuts and stuff that you could use for this. Looks like I got pretty much all of it out, and you can tell that's a lot of sauce. So I'm gonna, dip it out and see how much we need, but there might even be some extra left over. All right. So nice and creamy. And if I did a spoon in it, so you can tell, just coats a spoon really nicely. And you don't have, like, if you didn't have it blended enough, you'd see like little tiny chunks of the nuts in there. So, but yeah, it's in a really good shape. It's good. Nice and creamy. All right. And check the butternut squash. Here's a start of the butternut squash. So you can see that. So it's just kind of do, grab a spoon. I'll just do my fingers. As you can tell that I've handled lots of hot things while cooking. That doesn't bother me. Make sure it's all nice and good. Check my pasta real quick. So good. We don't have tahini. I have sesame oil. Can I use that? If so, how much do you think? So tahini is one of the products and stuff that you can use a little bit. So let me kind of go through a little bit of explanation. Tahini is a product and stuff that they recommend because it's just the seeds, and so it's not like extra oil. Sesame oil has a lot of it's just a regular oil, so we try to stay away from it. We don't, and it's like the saturated fats and things like that. We use a little bit of tahini, but not much. But it is one of the things that's approved for being a vegan lifestyle. So sesame oil, though, I mean, if you used it on something like that, it's going to give you a different flavor profile too. So I would say if you're not going to do the tahini, I would do like white beans, so like cannellini white beans. And so we said on the thing, so 2 tablespoons tahini. Then what I would do is do like probably 2 to 3 tablespoons of your like cannellini white beans, or something that's the soft white beans. And then I would mix it up that way, and that's going to give you a really good flavor, and it's also going to give you that thickening. So that's what I would do, because the sesame oil is going to give you that strange flavor that great in like Asian food and things like that, but not so much for this dish. So great question though, because I love that question. Great to have that. Okay, yeah, white beans works well, and you can freeze them too, so you can always keep them, and like freeze them in like little. You can actually, what you can do is you can put them in like an ice cube tray, the white beans, and put them in there, and then you can have them for using them for thickener for anything else too, which is really good. So. All right, so we're going to do, so we got the Cajun seasoning, we got everything in there. So we're going to heat up some vegetable broth. Just a little drizzle, just enough to get things going. If you need to add more, add more. How much beans? Okay, so if you're going to add the beans, so we said we need 2 tablespoons of tahini. So if you want to replace and not use tahini, which I fully get, because tahini it's also got a little bit different flavor profile. So I would use probably like 3 tablespoons of the white beans. So I would take like the tablespoon and I would squish the white beans in there, and then use the 3 tablespoons, and that's going to give you that nice thickener. And it's also not going to affect the flavor, because white beans, or like cannellini especially, don't really have a lot of flavor unless you add things to them. So that would be a way to do it. Or you could actually, if you've got like silken tofu, you could add a little bit of silken tofu into it too. But having like 2 or 3 tablespoons of a whole box of silken tofu, maybe not as much. So probably the beans will be a little bit faster to be able to use. And then you can always put them in a soup the next day, and you don't have any waste. Okay, so that's going. So we're following along. So because I always make sure they get everything. So we're going to add the garlic. This is where you could add the roasted garlic again if you wanted to. The garlic sticking in that little thing here. Then onions. It doesn't matter. I've had white onions, but you could use yellow, red, whatever you want to do. Whatever's your favorite. This out of the way. Check my pasta before I do anything else. Perfect. Just rinse my pasta real quick. All right, perfect. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed lately in like everything that we're buying in like onions, they all have, and I don't know if it's just the way that things are being shipped or how long things are in storage, but like always in the center, I'm having to pull the center out of them. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing because it's like all green or, you know, that type of thing like that. It's like, it's almost like starting to bulb out or something. So I've noticed that on almost all the onions here lately. Maybe it's just Colorado, could be. Nothing better when you're doing pasta and stuff is onions and garlic. Love it. That'll bring anybody from anywhere in your house into the kitchen. I used to do that when I was doing all the face-to-face classes, and I would just start like garlic and onions or roasting nuts, and I'd have people come into the stores and they're like, oh, "What are you cooking?" And it's just like garlic and onions, but it's that smell people recognize and love. Okay, so we got that. So we got this in. So we're just making sure that you want to get your onions where they're translucent. Nice and soft. Usually takes a couple minutes, not too long, especially if you do a small chop on your onions. You could also, if you're trying to save time and working and all kinds of things, family, you could also do a bunch of onions ahead of time so you could roast them up like this or actually saute them up and then put them in baggies and stuff and freeze them, and then you have them ready. So you just bring them out and then just put them in your pan and heat them up, and then you've got things ready too. That way you're not chopping at the last minute and doing all those kind of fun things. But if you love to chop, don't do it. Just a little bit, just a teeny bit of moisture. I don't want to put too much because my next ingredient is going to be mushrooms. And of course, mushrooms have lots of water. So I don't want to add too much because then I'll have to drain the pan because I don't want all that liquid. Okay, so here you go. Just some garlic and onions so you can see that it's translucent. Really nice. Then mushrooms. Whatever mushrooms you prefer. So cremini, we've got these are baby bellas. You could use just the regular white mushrooms, the button mushrooms, anything that you prefer. Or if you even want to mix, like to even make it fun, you could mix it up and have 3 or 4 different types of mushrooms. So whatever you have in the stores and whatever you get available, because I know that and it just depends on where you're at in the country and how you can get things and what's available in your stores. And we've had sometimes where you'll go in and the shelves are like empty, like right before a storm or something like that, and then it takes a while to get things back in. So sometimes you have to substitute a little bit. Those set for just a few minutes. All right, we've got butternut squash. Like I said, I cut the pieces so small that it actually roasted up really fast. If you had big pieces because you want the big chunks, it'll take you a lot longer. So all ready to go. And they're nice. So they're nice and soft, which is exactly like this one, which is exactly what you want in your salad. So. The nice thing about butternut squash, once you roast it, the sugar comes out. It's yummy. If you can't find butternut, that's another thing. Sometimes you can't find butternut. Acorn squash, any of those other type of squash and stuff will do really well. if you can't find, if like for this salad, if you couldn't find like any kind of a squash type of thing, you could use zucchini, or you could come back and do like eggplant or something else. So you could just completely change the recipe and add a couple of different ingredients. Sweet potatoes, yeah. Jerry said sweet potatoes. That's an actually one. Those you can usually find in the store pretty much everywhere. The nice thing about the baby bellas, I mean, a lot of the mushrooms really hold up, but baby bellas really hold up, which is nice. So I don't have to worry about too much of that. All right, so we're gonna get that. So we're just making sure that everything's in there. Like a mushroom, garlic, onion facial there. I am not a mushroom fan. I'm okay if it's mixed into things, like so if we grind it up and we put it into burgers or something like that, and I don't know it's there, even though I made it and I don't, it's not like you see the chunks, then I'm good with it. So tonight it'll be fixing all this pasta and everything, and then pretty much the forks with the mushrooms and putting them on Jerry's plate so he gets to eat them. And I'll put mushrooms and things like this, or sauces or spaghetti and things, but I just pick them out, take them off pizzas, and I share them. Okay. There we go. All ready to go. Yummy. And one of the questions I usually get to is, can you caramelize onions being plant-based? Yes, you can. Let me turn that low. What you have to do is you have to just be it takes you a lot longer. So when you put the onions in there, use your vegetable broth. Usually the darker vegetable broth will make it even like more vibrant in color, because they're I'm trying to think, like a kind of like a mustard yellow brown color if you get certain vegetable broths. And so you just kind of keep adding it, and as they're cooking, you just keep adding a little bit more. You can add a little bit water in between if it starts sticking a little bit. And then instead of being like, say, 10 minutes when you're doing with oil and you get them caramelized, if you do it, it's going to take you probably like 15 minutes. You just keep adding a little bit of vegetable broth, let them cook where they're almost like sticking to the pan. Add a little bit more vegetable broth, let them cook where they're still almost sticking in the pan. And you can get these absolutely luscious onions, which is wonderful, caramelized onions. Okay, that's all ready to go. All right, so I'm gonna let that set on low here because I want to get the salad and kind of get everything all put together. Because I don't want to add the sauce, because then everything else is like, gotta have it ready. So let me grab everything for that. I always talk about, wouldn't this be fun if you could come home, like if you love to cook and stuff, but if you can come home and like these pans like this were made up every day. So like everything's right here and it's all sectioned out, whatever you need, you just add it together. Fun. All right, let me grab. Oh, you know what I didn't add? Nobody told me. Peppers, green onions, bell peppers. You could also use the sweet little peppers if you wanted to, especially if you don't prefer green. I know a lot of people don't prefer, they're like, that's too good on green. So you could use like the red, yellow, and orange ones. And then I've got red bell peppers. So this is just, it's like one medium size, maybe a little bit to the large size and stuff of each. I looked over and I was like, why are there still sitting there? These won't take too long. I gotta show you really quick, because just look at this before I even do anything with it. Yum. Just the red bell peppers and everything else in the color. It's pretty. All right. Okay, so we have spinach. So just regular out of a box. So we've got, probably I did a little bit over 4 cups because guarantee you, we will eat this and eat this by tomorrow. So I always add just a little bit more. Okay. So then we've got the squash that's over here. So we let that. So I am going to really quick put the squash onto the side. Not too warm. I just want to heat up my pecans because I didn't have any pepitas. Like I said, we're moving, so I didn't want to go buy a bunch of pepitas until next time. I'm just going to put those in there a little bit. When you're actually doing the butternut squash, one thing you could do is, like when you're cooking the butternut squash at the very end, put them on the same, like the same baking sheet, and then just kind of let them get roasted up that way. So that's an easy way without doing what I did. Stir, give it a nice little stir. All right, so we've got those, we've got there and there, so they'll warm up here in just a few minutes. Make sure you really watch like your nuts when you've got them and you're sauteing them. And I know some people like to do them on top of the stove, which you can do it that way too. But just make sure that you don't burn them, because you can go, you can go from nice to where they smell absolutely delicious and almost smell like cookies or something like that to burnt really quick. So just be careful. All right, so we've got spinach, we've got cooked quinoa. So the quinoa I did last night. I don't know about as far as how you guys cook quinoa. There's lots of different ways. I've heard lots of different stories on quinoa. I'll tell you the best way that works is, let me just grab a fork. The best way that works is to put your quinoa in, based on package instructions. You put it in into a pan, you put water in, as much water as you need. So based on package instructions. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get it on your stove and you're going to let it start boiling. So let it boil for about, 3-4 minutes. And it's like kind of a really rapid boil. And you got it on high and it's going and it's great and it's all mixed up together. Then turn off your oven. So on your stove, turn off your stove, leave the pot and stuff on the same burner, put a lid on it, and then just let it sit. That's all you need to do. That's the easiest way to make this fluffy quinoa. And so it comes out and you get just, how it's just like this wonderful fluffy quinoa. And a lot of times everybody's like, well, nope, I think you need to boil it. Because some people say, oh, nope, you got to keep boiling it. And look at that. It's just, that's from last night. It's just fluffy, doesn't stick together. If you boil it a lot, what ends up happening is your quinoa, especially if you do like the red quinoa, you'll see like the kind of the coating on the outside of it and stuff will break away. And then it tends to be like a little bit mushier with that. This, if you let it, like I said, follow the exact, water instructions and stuff on the back, it soaks up everything. And it's just like this. It's just heavenly. Easiest way to do quinoa. And I guarantee you, it will never, ever go wrong on you. Doesn't matter the type or flavor or color of quinoa. It works. And the cool thing about it, 2-3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes boiling, you just got a rapid boil, turn off the burner, and then just put the lid on it and then just let it sit. And then you can do everything else you need to do. And then like 15-20 minutes, you'll just notice that you take the lid off, all the water is soaked up, and it's this great quinoa. You don't even have to drain it or do anything with it. It's perfect. Okay, so we got spinach in here. So we're gonna add, we're gonna do the cooked quinoa. I actually cooked a little bit more than what we needed, but I just figured I'd play with it. Jerry and I like quinoa, so we have no problem if it's extra. Yeah, extra. Have I ever tried doing quinoa in a rice cooker? I have not. If anybody else has, feel free to answer that. So first thing, let quinoa sit for how long? I just, like when I was doing it last night and I was getting it ready, I just let it sit for like 15 minutes. And, just because I was doing something else, came back to it. And then all the water was soaked up and it was great. And I just took a spoon, got it out, put it into the bowl that you just saw, and it was all ready to go. So I would say usually it's like 10-15 minutes if you let it sit there. But I have not done quinoa in a rice cooker. I've never actually used a rice cooker just because I use either the pressure cooker or just on the stove. So I don't know. I don't know if has anybody done it? No, me either. I would say try it. I mean, you're just gonna have to watch, make sure your timing and things like that. But I don't know why not. But the only thing I would think, I've never used a rice cooker. I don't know. Try it and let us know. Like to hear how it goes. Because it's so easy to do it in the pot on the stove, I just do it that way. And a lot of times on things like this too, I will actually, like if it's a salad like this, if I'm getting ready to take it somewhere, I will do like the tricolor quinoa. If you've ever seen that, it's just really pretty. So you get like 3 different colors of quinoa in here. So you get some of the reds and the more of the blacks and the whites and stuff. And it's really pretty of adding like color if you're going to take it to a party or something. But still you got the greens and the whites and everything else that is really pretty. You can do it in an Instant Pot. I know people have used an Instant Pot. That's the pressure cooker. So the electric pressure cookers. A lot of people will do pretty much, we do all of our rice in the pressure cooker. We also do all of our beans, like we do pinto beans, everything else. They are the best. I mean, Jerry and I used to, we used to cook them in the slow cookers or just cook them on the stove. We now do Instant Pot with all of the beans, and they are the most delicious beans ever. So if you don't know how to do beans, let me know. Just type in a message and say, tell me how to do beans. They're wonderful. And you don't have to soak them. Don't have to do that. All right, so spinach, cooked quinoa, apple. So I just chopped up an apple, and since I had it, probably about an hour ago, I chopped it up. I just sprinkled a little bit of, there's a little bit of lemon on it, so it just kept it from discoloring, which was really nice. Any apple. I always go for, if you like the pink ladies or something like that right now, just anything that's like more firm is really good. Okay, peppers are done, down low. Let me grab the nuts. They smell good. Put those there for now. So already, so we've got the spinach, we've got the quinoa, we've got the apples on there. If you wanted to, and you wanted to leave the peeling on it, you can do that, because then you've got the nice red color. I just took the peeling off, so it's not as chewy, but up to you, however you want to do it. You could also, on something like this, you could add oranges. So those little mandarin oranges, or what do they call the other one, little cuties. You could actually put some of that kind of stuff in there too, which would be really good. Grapes would be yummy. Okay, so I've got this in there. So apples, I got cranberries. So I did not have this didn't have any cranberries, but I had a whole bunch of goji berries. So Goji, and I actually think right now that I probably prefer the goji berries, because the cranberries, dry cranberries, can be really like sweet, like sometimes overly sweet. These, when the goji berries, they're a little more expensive though, of course. They give you that same type of texture and things, but they're not as sweet as the dry cranberries. So they look like it. They look like the same, like the same thing, but they almost, I would say, they're not as sweet as a raisin, not as sweet as a cranberry, but they give that flavor, which is really nice. So we add the goji berries in. Okay, yeah. So Eileen, so cooking beans in a pressure cooker, so like pinto beans. We eat a lot of pinto beans, and we love them. And Jerry will do like green chili sauce and all kinds of things like that in them. So what you do is you just take like a pack. So let's see. So the packs are probably, when you buy them, they're about this big. And I'll look and see if Jerry has one under there. So packs about this big. And so you can do 2 packs like that if you wanted to, if you've got a 6-quart. So we usually do like 1 pack. And then what I'll do is, so the beans are on the bottom, and then I'll add usually about this much more water on top of the beans. And when I do that, that way you have all this extra sauce that goes with the beans, which is really good. So I just put it right into the pressure cooker, stainless steel. And then I actually I'll put it on like 60 minutes, or sometimes I'll do 65. So if I have 2 bunches of them together, I'll do like 65 minutes. And your Instant Pot, you can actually take the time up or whatever you need. And then I'll just walk away. And so at 60 minutes for 1 pack and there are 65 minutes for like double pack. They are the most wonderful beans. You don't have to soak them and things. And then you just bring them out, and the flavors, because it's in a pressure cooker, is phenomenal. They are so good. So they're easy to do. You don't have to worry about, sitting there and going, oh, I wanted to have beans today, but I forgot to soak them. Don't have to worry about that. Just put them in your Instant Pot, your pressure cooker, or if you got a different brand, same thing. Yeah. Wonderful. You'll love them. I guarantee you, beans in a pressure cooker are so wonderful. Okay, so we've got the goji berries and everything like that in there. So cranberries in a large bowl. So we're going to add the pecans. Sure wasn't too hot. Normally pepitas, so you could do those, pumpkin seeds, but didn't have any. So I definitely have to go to the store and buy some of those when we get to the new place. It was more like, didn't want to have to pack up a lot of things and cart things over. So I had pecans. I usually always have pecans. So I'm just crunching them up just a little bit, and you can chop them up with a knife if you want, but this is kind of fun to, my mom, like when we used to do cookies at the Christmas time and things, So she's like, okay, I need a bunch of pecans or walnuts. And my brother and my sister and I would sit there and just do this and just break them up. That's how she kept us busy or focused or occupied or something. I don't know, out of her hair. But it was always fun. She was a great cook. Just crunching them up. And if they've been toasted a little bit, they're easy to break up. And you could always just, if you wanted to, you could toast them already broken up like this. Okay, add those in. The onions and the peppers and stuff smell so good. Okay, watch my time, just make sure. Okay, and then they've been toasted. So we've got the dressing. So let me get my blender really quick because I'm just going to blend it. But this is definitely one that you could actually do too. You could just do it in like a bowl and just sit there and stir it a little bit. And the tahini will break down. Much water. Oh. Here. Okay, so we've got for the dressing, we've got tahini. So basically sesame seeds. There's all kinds of tahini out there. You can get, tahini that is like this one, which is kind of more the gray color, all to where it's almost like a color of nutritional yeast. So like a kind of like a mustard color. So there's different tahinis. So experiment with those. I've seen lots of ones that they'll come right out of the jar and stuff, and it's just like really, really creamy. A little expensive, but they're good. So apple cider vinegar. So we got 2 tablespoons apple cider. Then you've got lemon juice. Then we have low sodium tamari. Gives a nice flavor, that umami, which is really good. Nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a yeast product and stuff that we use when you're plant-based, when you're wanting to make it taste like cheese. So this is actually, it looks like it's just yellow and it kind of looks like fish flakes a little bit, but it's really good. Like if you put it on popcorn. So if you do popcorn without any oil and you put this and a little bit of salt and pepper, really good on popcorn. It's good to make like a lasagna. So you're making the ricotta. Nutritional yeast is what they add. So got that in there. I keep it around all the time. If you go, you'll find it like in health food stores. If you've not done, or Whole Foods, if you've got a Whole Foods in your area, Sprouts, all those different areas. But it's usually, sometimes they'll make it up and they'll put it like where all the spices and things are. Other times and stuff, if it's like a natural grocers and stuff, you have to go over to where they keep all like the vitamins and everything else and ask for the nutritional yeast. Sub for the nutritional yeast in the dressing. So if you want, let's see if you can sub something out. Let's think about that for a second. If you don't want the nutritional yeast, because I know some people said that they don't prefer it or they're allergic to it.
Cheesy flavor.
Yeah, because it gives a little bit of cheesy flavor. So let me think about what would be. I would say there's really not anything that's really a substitute for it. So I would just probably say just leave it out. Thinking about it, it's still gonna be a great dressing. So I don't think you'll really miss it at all. It just gives a little bit different flavor with it. So I think the flavor profile without even adding that in, still good. It's hard because there's not a lot for substitutions for that. Okay, then we've got, so I had, what did I do? There it is. I was like, where's my garlic? 2 teaspoons garlic. Same thing. If you want a little bit different flavor, add your roasted garlic, just chop it up. And then the last thing we do is maple syrup. You could use date paste, you could use agave, whatever you'd like to do, or you could actually say not going to do any of those, and then you use like the monk fruit sugar sweetener. So it just gives, but the nice thing about, even though your tahini is going to do the same thing, it gives a little bit of the thickness too when you're adding like dressings. That's it. That's all the ingredients. Go. Just give it a quick blend. Pasta going. And then we've got everything. So we've got the peaches, we've got the pecans, we've got everything else in there, butternut squash. Taste it. Truthfully, you would not, if you took the nutritional yeast out, you would not miss it at this dressing. So I would just leave it out. It's good. The tahini gives it a little bit of nutty flavor, which is really nice. All right, so let's get the pasta going. Grab my pasta. Everything out of the way so we can make everything. Here. All right, so we've got all the vegetables, everything going. So nice, all uncooked. You've got all the peppers and everything else. Everything's all nice. You see it okay? Perfect. All right, so a little bit of moisture in there, but that's okay. The peppers gave a little bit of moisture. If you get too much, feel free to drain it but otherwise and stuff, it's really going to mix with the sauces and everything else that's in there. So if we're following along, so we got over the mushrooms, everything else in. We're going to add the cream sauce. That going. So just grab a dipper. Get it at medium heat. If you really like things saucy, add the whole thing. I'm just going to start dipping some out and then just kind of play with it a little bit. Yum. That looks really, really good. I'll show you here in just a second. So that was like 3 dips of that. And look how much sauce. There's a lot of sauce in there already. But I've added that in, but now I'm going to add the pasta. That's when we're going to know if we have enough sauce or not. Oh, I missed the counter. Oh my gosh, this looks definitely more sauce. And I cooked a little more pasta than normal, so I'm going to use probably a little bit more sauce than normally what I would do for the 8 ounces. Okay. All right, so then we got the spices. So like I said, add it, I sprinkle it in, sprinkle it on the top. Saute it in. Going to do a nice little flip to get that mixed in there. And then what I recommend, so that was probably about half the spice. Fork. That's really good. I'm gonna add more, just for us. No waste. And when you're doing this part of it, you're mixing everything together. Make sure you're watching the bottom of your pan, because once you start kind of mixing it in and your sauce gets thick, it'll start sticking to the bottom of the pan. What you're doing here pretty much is just making sure everything's heated. And then you're gonna have to do a little bit of stirring and tossing because you've got the spices in there and they tend to stick to the noodles. Just to do a little bit more sauce and then we're done. This, yum. mushroom. Hey. Highly recommend, especially wintertime right now. That is wonderful. I can eat, forget the salad, I'll just eat a bowl. That's really good. And it's creamy. And it's got really, really good flavors. And this is one of those ones that I always talk about when you get it home. Mix it up, make it up, and then put like eggplant, put zucchini, put whatever you want in there, because this is one of those ones that any vegetable would be good in this. So let me show you what it looks like, and then we'll dish it out. Yum. Nice and creamy and wonderful and great vegetables. I love all the peppers in there. Here's my extra zucchini. No, not my zucchini, but my butternut squash. Okay, so we got the salad together. So I'm going to grab dressing and palms. I'm just going to use actually all the dressing because of the quinoa that I have in here is going to soak it up. Normally what I'll do is I'll start and I'll add just a little bit of dressing at a time, but since I have quinoa in there, it soaks up all the dressing. You could actually get in here too. You know, before you added the butternut squash, you could get in here with your hands and you could actually start kind of mixing everything together, because when you do that, you're actually breaking down the spinach, or if you have kale or something else, if you have a mixture, it breaks it down and it just makes it less chewy. I'm just mixing everything together. What would be really good in here too, and I had some in the fridge, but I didn't add it to the recipe, grapes, red grapes. Okay, taste. That's really good. Yum, yummy dinner tonight. Sorry you guys weren't all joining us. Everybody come over. Okay, so we got pasta. Let's put it up here so don't spill it. Isn't that nice and creamy? You can see it all of it coming out like that. So if you don't like spinach, yep. So I know some people don't like spinach, and sometimes, you know, we've had times and stuff where we've gone to like restaurants or something like that, and the spinach tastes like it's got like fertilizer or something on it. So I agree. Every once in a while, you'll get some bad spinach. Kale is a great substitute. If you can get like La Quinto kale, that one is like they call it the elephant ears, which is really long pieces. That makes really, really good salads. One of my favorite things too. You could do, or you know, you could actually do here. You could do arugula, which would be wonderful if you like arugula. That would be another thing that's delicious. So just to dress it up a little bit, crushed red pepper flakes. If you don't like crushed red pepper, don't put it on. And then if you have fresh parsley, you can use that, or you can use dried parsley just to give a little bit of green, especially since I'm going to take a picture. But you could do chives, anything else that you have. Pasta. That is a big bowl of pasta with a fork. Yeah. It's in a bowl. And then, of course, your quinoa and everything else always goes to the bottom. All right. There we go. So I think we're right on time. We are. All right. So there is So I have to remember what I actually made. So it's basically a quinoa, so spinach quinoa salad with butternut squash or roasted vegetables. You could add all kinds of other vegetables in that. Yummy. And if I can get it, but I'm not sure if I can get it in my hand to hold it. I can't. Okay. Oh boy, is it heavy. That is our Cajun pasta. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys try the recipe. Guarantee you'll love this one. Both of these are absolutely wonderful and great together. I mean, what a great way to do that.
Where you go?
Yes.
Bundle.
Yeah, so before you go, Chef AJ is doing a bundle that's coming up on February 21st that'll be out. It's like thousands of dollars worth of information. So you'll get recipes and videos, and you'll get, like Dr. McDougall and Jerry and everybody else and stuff, they're on there. So it's going to be how much?
$49.
$49. So you're going to get all kinds, and you have basically you can download all the recipe booklets. I think one lady that's raw is doing 5 cookbooks in there that would equal to like $150. So watch for it. We'll advertise on the sites and things, but what a great way and stuff to get a bunch of recipes and videos and talks and things. And you can, you have access to it for a year, or you can download it and you basically have it forever. So hope you guys will enjoy that, but please join February 21st. Yep. When we will. Thank you. Looks delicious. Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. Do definitely try the pastas and things. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you change it up. I'd love to hear those kind of things.
Gluten-free pasta.
But yep, you could do gluten-free pasta. You could do rotini. You don't have to do mini penny. You could do spaghetti. I mean, it's completely up to you. Try things. Let me know. And if you guys need any more substitutions or anything, just let me know. I'm happy to help. It's all about, like I said, it's all about community. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Jerry's drooling behind the camera. She's looking at the pasta. So love you guys and talk to you soon. We'll see you in March. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.